¿Cómo estás? Welcome back to another grammar lesson with teacher Catalina. Today we are focusing on stem changing verbs, but this time we are focusing on those that have an O and the O changes to UE. So by the end of today's lesson, you will be an expert on O to UE, and hopefully if you've already watched the E to IE stem changer lesson, you will be an expert on that too. If you haven't, not to worry. Just look in the description below and find that link. Before we head into our salón de clase, our classroom, I want to ask you for a favor. Can you please share the love and hit like and subscribe? I heard sí. Good. Gracias. Now we're ready to head into our salón de clase. Estamos listos para conjugar verbos. Today we continue our lesson on how to conjugate stem changing verbs. But don't worry, it's not the same lesson you watched before. Today we are focusing on verbs, stem changing verbs, in which the O changes to UE. So you're probably thinking, is it the same thing? Pretty much. So hopefully you feel pretty comfortable with this lesson. Let's start with the verb recordar. Recordar, to remember. And since we're talking about remembering, let's remember the parts of a verb. Remember, the ending is always going to be AR, ER, or IR. So let's look at the verb recordar. The AR is the ending. Whatever's left over, that's your stem. And today, since we're focusing on stem changing verbs, we have to make sure that we change not only the ending, but also a little something on the stem. For today's verbs, we're going to focus on those verbs that have an O, and the O is going to change to UE. So again, later on, I'm going to give you a list of very useful stem changing verbs in which the O will change to UE. And you can review them and make sure that you know what they mean and how to use them. Now, let's go to our board so I can go ahead and show you how to conjugate the stem changing verbs O to UE. Okay, so we have our verb recordar, to remember, but before we learn how to conjugate it, let's remember that the AR is the ending, and in this verb, we're going to be changing this O. Today's stem changing lesson is about verbs in which the O changes to UE. So now you know that not only are we going to change the ending and continue to use our regular AR verb endings, but we're changing that O to a UE in all forms except for... That's right, nosotros and vosotros. We do not change the stem a nosotros and vosotros. Good. Vamos a usar dos colores diferentes para que tú puedas ver la diferencia. Usamos rosado y usamos azul. And now let's look at our verb recordar, to remember. And let's start. Now we got to the O, so we have to change that to UE. And we'll finish it off. Just like a regular AR verb. So you would say, yo siempre recuerdo que tengo que hacer la tarea. Yo siempre recuerdo que tengo que hacer la tarea. Recordar. We change the O for a UE. Let's move on to tú. Tú. The verb recordar, we start. And when we come up to the O, we change it to UE. And we finish it off like a regular AR verb. Tú recuerdas. ¿Tú recuerdas hacer la tarea? ¿Tú recuerdas hacer la tarea? Sí, yo recuerdo. Moving down our subject pronouns, we get to él, ella, and usted. We start off with the stem, and when we hit the O, we change it to UE. And we finish off our verb like a regular AR verb. Ella recuerda que tiene que hacer su tarea. Ella recuerda que tiene que hacer su tarea. Remember that there was something special about nosotros and vosotros? What was it? Yes, you're right. We are going to put a little start here because we need to remember that we are not going to change the stem on nosotros and vosotros. When we're conjugating stem changers, it doesn't matter which kind, whether they're E to IE or O to UE, we are not changing the stem in nosotros and vosotros. So we would go ahead and treat it like a regular verb. We do not change the stem because we're talking about nosotros. And there is no stem change in nosotros or vosotros. So keeping that in mind, let's do vosotros. Recordáis. Vosotros recordáis. Nosotros recordamos. No stem change in nosotros and vosotros. And the last subject pronouns that we have to worry about are ellos, ellas, and ustedes. Do we change the stem? Yes, you're right. The O will change to UE. So we will say re, change the O to UE, and finish off the verb like a regular AR verb. Recuerden. Ellos recuerdan que tienen que hacer la tarea. Ellos recuerdan que tienen que hacer la tarea. Muy bien. You conjugated the verb recordar. You changed the AR, O, as, a, amos, ais, and an. And you remember that the O changes to UE in all forms except for nosotros and vosotros. You did excelente. Are you ready for another verb? I am. I know you are too. So let's look at the verb poder. Poder, to be able to. For example, yo puedo hablar español. Yo no puedo hablar alemán. So, the verb poder is an ER verb, so we need to remember we have to use the endings of ER verbs. But it's also a stem changer. So this O changes to UE in all forms except for nosotros and vosotros. So if you're ready, let's go ahead and get conjugating the verb poder. Once again, usamos azul y rosado para que tú puedas ver la diferencia. Poder, yo. We got to the O, we changed to UE, and then we finish it off like a regular ER verb. Yo puedo hablar español. Yo puedo hablar español. Tú. Start with the P of the stem. Now we have the O, which we have to change to UE. And we finish it off. Puedes. Tú puedes hablar español también. Tú puedes hablar español también. Moving on to él, ella, and usted. You know the pattern. We start with the stem, and once we get to the O, we change to UE, and we finish it off like a regular ER verb. Puede. Ella puede hablar alemán. Él puede hablar chino. Good. Remember that nosotros and vosotros are special because we do not change the stem. No changing the stem. So let's remember, for now, let's put a little star and let's go to conjugating like a regular verb. So we would say, podemos. Nosotros podemos hablar español. Nosotros podemos hablar español. Vosotros podéis. Vosotros podéis hablar español. Vosotros podéis hablar español. And finally, ellos, ellas, and ustedes. Do we change the stem? Yes, yes, yes. Sí. We always change the stem in every single form except for nosotros and vosotros. So let's conjugate ellos, ellas, and ustedes. We start with the P, The O changes to UE. And we finish it off like a regular ER verb. Pueden. Ellos pueden hablar italiano. Ellos pueden hablar italiano. Muy bien, you got it. You conjugated the verb poder. You remember to change the ER, O, S, E, hemos, es, and en. And you change the O of the stem because poder is a stem changing verb. The O changes to UE in all forms except for nosotros and vosotros. So let's make sure we did that. Puedo, puedes, puede, podemos, podéis, and pueden. Excelente. You know how to conjugate stem changing verbs in the O to UE. If you need to remember how to conjugate E to IE, look at the description below. I've given you the link to that lesson. Fantastic! Fantástico! Chócalas! What a champ! Eres un campeón or una campeona. I am so happy that you joined me today to learn how to conjugate stem changing verbs O to UE. Now you are definitely an expert. Now remember, you may have to keep practicing little by little. Eventually, it will become second nature. I promise. You just have to put in the time. So thank you again for joining me today, and I hope to see you again for the next grammar lesson. But if you forgot to hit me gusta and subscribe, you can do it now. Gracias. Adios.